Hold on for a second, read this. Okay, I'm speaking with Nancy, and Nancy is the first girls track coach at Bath High School a long time ago. And I'm speaking, and she's going to speak with these two about just girls in athletics and what's different, what's the same. And we thought it would be meaningful for these girls to ask some questions since that they help make and choose themselves. And they're curious about, what sports are now, then, and all sorts of different questions. So they have their notes, and I'm going to step aside and they're going to move to the middle.
Okay.
Got it, girls? Okay. Whoa, sorry, Nora.
Move over ESPN, huh? All right. So who's going to go first here?
My first question is when you were coaching in the 1970s, what was the hardest part about getting girls involved in sports?
Well, that's a very good question, Nora. Um, we had basketball. When I started coaching track, they had already had a basketball team. So some of the girls at Bath in the 1970s had played basketball. So they knew about competition, and they'd had a coach who taught English in the high school. She was a teacher, and she recruited a lot of girls to play basketball. So when I started teaching at Bath, I was a basketball coach too. I was the JV basketball coach. And so all these girls knew about coming off of basketball. But then I was starting a track team. And so I also taught phys ed. So I had all the fifth and sixth grade girls in phys ed. I had all the middle school girls in phys ed. So we would talk about basketball. I ran a fifth and sixth grade girls basketball camp. And so we would talk about sports and we talk about track. So when it finally got to where we were starting our track program, I had a really good audience. I had all those fifth and sixth, seventh and eighth grade girls. And my first track team only had 14 girls on it. But every year we gained more because those girls in fifth and sixth, seventh and eighth grade moved up to high school and knew me as a coach and knew they wanted to run track. And it was the only sport in the spring. There was no softball, no golf. The only sport Bath had in the 70s was basketball until I started the track team. So it really was the only option for girls if they wanted to compete. So that's kind of a long version to your question, which was very good.
Did girls back then believe they could be really good at sports, or did you have to help them see that?
That's a really good question, too. If they played basketball, they kind of believed they could play. But when I got girls in seventh, eighth, and ninth grade, they had never competed. They might have competed in the summer on softball teams. There were those softball teams. But I had to convince them that if they practiced hard and did drills, specific to their event. So if you were a long jumper, you had to learn how to, do lots of jumping in the long jump pit. And so as we practiced and started going to meets and they saw they were improving, they got excited about competing. So and track's fun because every time you compete at a big track meet, you get medals. Unlike basketball, where you have to wait all season to get a medal at the end of the season. Track, you can get them almost every Saturday when you go to a track meet. And medals were very exciting to win. The girls loved to win medals. So they liked going to the track meets and competing to get medals.
My next question is what's something girls today have wished your athletes had back then?
Hmm. Good question. What do girls today wish they had back then? Well, one thing I think that's different is back then, all the coaches were women, which is kind of interesting, isn't it? In 1970, all the coaches, the basketball and the track coaches for girls were women. And now there's a lot of men, which I heard, Kendall, your daddy coaches, right? Yeah. And he coaches girls. So a lot of the men have crossed over and started to coach the girls. When we started, though, the men really didn't want the girls to play sports because that meant they needed to have gym time and they didn't want to give up their practice time for their boys' teams. So it was kind of hard at first, and the men didn't really want the girls kind of coming in and using their facilities. But then after years of programming, eventually the men then eventually moved in and started coaching the girls. And personally, I think it's easier to coach girls than boys. So I can understand why they would want to coach you. Got another question?
Yeah, my next question was, how was the game itself different than today?
Oh, boy, I was hoping you would ask that question. When I was your age and played, we couldn't play at school, but we played at the YMCA. And the girls played 6-man basketball. I don't know if you've ever heard of this. Six girls. So 3 girls played on one half the court and 3 girls played on the other half. So you had offense and defensive girls, and they could only dribble 2 dribbles.
Oh,
And when a basket was scored, they brought the ball to the center line, and the opposing team got to throw it in. But you didn't throw it in under the basket, you threw it in at the center line. So that was the way I learned to play when I was in 5th and 6th grade. When I got to high school, they decided, these girls are getting pretty good. Let's let them have a unlimited dribble, but only 2 girls could have unlimited dribble, and 2 girls could go up and down the full court. So we still played with 6 girls on the floor, 2 that couldn't move off the defensive end, 2 couldn't move off the offensive end, and 2 girls called rovers who could go up and down the floor anywhere. So then it was like 3-on-3. And then when I started coaching at Bath, the very first year I coached at Bath, they went to playing just like the boys, 5 players on the floor, and everybody could dribble up and down and go up and down the floor. So it hasn't changed too much other than some of the rules. But as far as playing the game, it's pretty much the same as when I was coaching at Bath in the 1970s now. But it had changed a lot in that first 10 or 15 years. In fact, I wanted to share with you, my grandma in 1917 played on a basketball team, which is really kind of interesting. And they would have been playing where you could only have 2 dribbles and there were 6 girls on the floor and you were limited. But it's interesting. My grandma played, and then all of a sudden girls basketball was eliminated altogether. Nobody played. And then in the 1960s, it kind of started coming back. And now you can go to Michigan. Have you girls been to a Michigan State game?
mm-hmm.
Yeah. So now they play in great big stadiums, and Michigan State fills the bleachers with people who will come and watch girls play, which I think is amazing. So you guys get to play in a very, very fun time.
Was the 3-pointer there or no? Or
It wasn't at first. No. When I first started coaching, there was no 3-pointer. And I want to think it started about 1977, maybe, or 78. So right towards the end of my coaching, the 3-point basket, and even the boys couldn't get 3-pointers. There was no 3-pointers for anybody. So that changed the game a lot, because now teams like Michigan State has some really good girls that can shoot those 3-pointers. In fact, we would punish girls on our team if they shot a shot way back behind the 3-point line, which there wasn't a 3-point line, but if they shot way out there, we would get mad at them as coaches and say, no, get the ball into the big people, into the forwards in the center, and have them shoot the layup, that's a higher percentage shot. So that's changed the game a lot. Now coaches try to get players who are good 3-pointers and put them into their rotation.
what made the Queen Bees feel like a team, not just a group of athletes?
I think any team, when you work together and play, and at high school you practice every day. I don't know, in 5th and 6th grade you don't practice usually every day, but when you get to the high school and college level, you start practicing every day, in and out, and you're putting in hours with those girls. And I think you grow together as you compete, and you have to go through the losses and why did you lose, and how emotionally that bothers you when you lose, and then how excited you get when you win and to celebrate. And I think that makes you a cohesive team when you go through all those emotions together. So how do you feel like when you win?
Happy.
Happy. And don't you kind of hug all your teammates? You're so excited. And then how do you feel when you lose?
Little bummed, but not like mad. I don't
That's
feel
true.
bad. I feel like bummed. I feel
Yeah.
disappointed.
That's a good word too. Bummed and disappointed. Yes. And so we would talk about that the next practice before we'd go into the gym, we'd talk about how we felt and why we felt that way and what we had to do, not to be mad. You're right. You didn't get mad, but you had to analyze what could you do different so next time you play that team, you could win. Yeah, makes you want to focus more on what you have to do to improve. I've got a question for you.
What?
Okay, so why do you like basketball so much? What about basketball makes you want to play it?
It's really like fun to play. I like doing it because you're like with your friends a lot, and it's just really fun when you win, and like practices can be really fun, and especially when like you like have like a lot of points, it's fun.
Yeah, you get to score.
I
How
think
about you, no, Nora?
I think it's fun because like when you score, it's like really fun because then everybody cheers for you.
Hmm.
Um, when we play games at practice, that's really fun. And then like, yeah, it's just really fun because like once you're like with a team, you like connect with them and then you
Hmm.
like get really close. And yeah, it just makes the game even more better.
It kind of creates a whole unique set of friendship, doesn't it? It's a little bit different than friends in a classroom, isn't it? You get
Yeah.
to know each other so much. And I think because you go through sad times and happy times together, it even makes you closer, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you girls play any other sports besides basketball? What do you do,
I
Kendall?
I play softball and I like to run, so when cross country starts up, I'll probably go
Oh,
country.
okay. So you like to
I
run?
do softball too. Me and Kendall both like long distance, but I think I might do track, maybe, or cross country. Who knows? And I like golf too.
That's great. That's great. It's good to have two or three things you really, really like and try them all and see where you really excel,
Yeah.
what you do your best in. Yeah, it's fun to do.
How did being on a team change the girls even when they weren't competing?
I think because they develop friendships with each other, some of them are close to each other. I know let me think about that. Well, we would have team parties too. And team parties, we would meet and get together, and it would just be the girls on the team. So, again, you've got that unique friendship with just those girls you're playing basketball with or track with. And then we would, when I started coaching and we moved into the new high school, which is the building, the high school now, they had a weight machine and we would do weightlifting in the off season. And I would go over to the elementary building because we couldn't get in the gym sometimes because it was being used by other teams. And we would practice sprints down the hallway. And so we would practice out of season too, not every day, maybe only once or twice a week, but we would try to keep up on getting stronger and quicker so we would be better basketball players or better track runners. So we would do things out of season, but not every day. You know, it was kind of a more relaxed practices.
I have another question. Was there a moment when you realized what you were building was really special?
I think it's a very good question too. How did it evolve and when did I realize we really had a good team? When we started our track team, there weren't a lot of schools around us that had track teams. So we had to travel quite a ways. But each year, more and more schools added girls' track. So we ended up having closer meets. But because we started a little bit earlier than most teams, my girls had the edge. And so we would win a lot. And so when we got ready for the very first Michigan State track meet, the very, very first time they had a state championship track meet was right there in East Lansing, right next to Bath High School. So all the girls' teams from all over the state of Michigan who had a team at that time came to East Lansing, and we took ninth, which doesn't sound like it's a real high number, but we were the only team in the whole mid-Michigan area who scored in the top 10, and we were the only Class C. All the rest of the schools were big A and B schools. So that made us realize we really had a special group of girls that really had some good talent. And the next year, they divided it up and had A, B division and a C, D division. So we knew we would do real good in the C, D division because we didn't have to compete against those big old schools like East Lansing and Hazlitt and Holt, much bigger. And they have a lot more kids than us, so they could pull a lot more girls to play. And so we could compete against, we could beat Holt and we could beat East Lansing. So that made us realize we really had a good group of runners and jumpers and a good track team.
What do you help girls our age understand about the girls who played sports before us?
Well, I think one thing is to realize when those girls started 50 years ago, a lot of people said girls shouldn't compete. They couldn't train hard. Girls physically couldn't handle hard practices, and then competition would be too emotional for them to handle. And so I don't think you guys have to deal with that at all. Girls now have proven that they can compete, they can train hard, they can handle competition. And so sometimes girls your age and even high school girls forget what their mothers and their grandmothers had to do to compete and all the negative that they had to deal with to prove that girls could compete and do well.
What do you think sports teaches girls that helps them later in life?
Oh, that's a good one. First of all, it allows them to have confidence and sit in front of a camera and ask some woman they don't even know all kinds of questions. So it gives you confidence when you can perform and shoot well or hit a ball in softball. You start to realize you're good at something and that you can take on challenges. So it gives you confidence. And I think the biggest thing is it helps develop you into being leaders. And studies have shown that girls that go into sports end up being leaders in their schools, leaders of clubs, leaders in their classroom. And then when you guys grow up, go to college, and then get jobs, they find women are much more confident and can become leaders. So I think that is probably some of the strongest benefits of girls competing in sports. And we knew boys did that all the time. You know, when boys played sports, we knew that it helped them gain confidence and believe in themselves and become leaders. And so we have shown that girls can do the same thing and that sports can help them become leaders and become confident women.
If you could tell one thing to girls playing sports today, what would you want them to remember?
I think one thing you need to remember is whenever you compete, you're going to deal with some heartache. There's going to be a time where you lose. There's going to be a time where you didn't do as well as you thought you should. And I think the big thing is to believe that you can overcome that you can go back, you can practice hard, you can get a positive and you focus on what you want to do. My girls, when my track team, I would have them at the beginning of the year write down their goals. So if you were on a basketball team, it might be you don't want to have more than 2 turnovers in a game, or you don't want to have, or you want to be able to play. Maybe you've been on the bench and you just finally get, maybe you want to try to get 4 or 5 minutes of playing time. And they would set goals and put those goals, they'd put it on a little card and put it by their bed. And then they put one at school in their locker. And then we had lockers in the locker room for practice, and they put one there. So they'd see that card every day and know that they can overcome their weaknesses by working harder, being focused and having a positive attitude. So I think that's what I would tell young girls. Hang in there. Don't quit because you're not having a good time or it's been hard. You can overcome it. You guys did a good job asking some really great questions.
Thank you.
Well, we appreciate you spending time with us, and I know that they were excited, and we sort of worked, Nora and I worked on the questions, and then we just gave them a Kendall, and she added a little bit of her Kendallness, right? But,
yeah, her uniqueness, everybody.
Very special, and especially that it's on National Women or Girls and Women in Sports Day, which I know that's a relatively new or newer holiday that they celebrate, but I think it's a pretty important one. And then
yes.
So who between the two of you guys, who leads in fouls in your who has the most fouls between you two?
Me.
Who has what did I tell you the other day? Can't take them home, right?
Yeah.
Take foul out last game. Yeah.
That's okay. And how, you got 4 the other time, then, didn't you?
When did you foul out at the end of the game?
Yeah, I fouled out 3 times this season, I think.
Yeah. As long as you're not fouling out before halftime, that's good.
Oh no, it was fourth quarter, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
then,
that's great. Then you're playing hard. You're playing hard. That's good.
I was also telling him that when I was doing a little bit of timeline stuff, and when you started coaching, this was a time when, I mean, this is even because I was born shortly after you started coaching. So it within my life, you know, my mom
Mhm.
didn't have a credit card when I was born. And my mom couldn't have a checking account, you know what I mean? Or,
Right.
you know, or they could own houses, but there had to be a male co-signer. And
Yes.
one other one, which is unheard of now, is that they could be let go from a job if they were pregnant.
Yes.
And it's just the whole world has changed. And I think a lot of that is because of sports.
Yes.
Start funding things where people can be empowered to do better and to work as a team. And then you start seeing the funding that goes with that. I don't need to be shown. She's seen me enough. But I think that
Well, we've been empowered over time. It's empowered us. Yes, I could, when I started teaching at Bath, I couldn't get a credit card at Sears. My husband was a student at MSU. He couldn't get a card because he wasn't 21 yet. And I was 21 and had a job, but I couldn't have a credit card because I was a woman. Hurdles that women had to empower themselves to get over in the 70s and the 80s because we were women. Well, just getting in the gym, like I said, they didn't think girls belonged in the gym. Go down to the home ec room and sew. That's where we were supposed to be.
that's so fun.
Or cooking. So yes, it has empowered us, and sports has been a big, big part of that.
For track, what were the competitions that you could compete in?
You mean what events?
Yeah.
Which is interesting. That's a good one. When we started track, the first year we started, we only had the 100-yard dash. We didn't have the mile. 800 was the longest. So 2 laps around the track was the longest. We had one hurdle event. It was only 60 yards. Now there's 2 hurdle events. So there was no shot put, no disc. We had softball throw. We would throw the softball and see who could throw the softball the farthest. And that was a track event. And then we had high jump and long jump. But what's different there that's changed is the girls, when we started, the high jump was these big nets that held foam. Oh, what do I want to say? Kind of like what we see foam mattresses made out of, and it was all crumbled up. And that's what they high jumped into. So they didn't high jump very high because a lot of times they would fall between the cracks and go to the ground. So you were a little hesitant about that. No pole vault for girls for years, but finally they added the mile. Then eventually they added the 2 mile. And when I coached, if you ran the mile or the 2 mile, you couldn't run anything greater than 1 lap around the track. There were all these limitations because they didn't think girls and the boys couldn't handle. They didn't think we were trained well enough to handle that. So they added the mile, they've added the 2 mile. Then eventually they said, if you've got a really good distance runner, we'll let you run the mile and the 2 mile and the 4x800. And we didn't have that relay. We only had 2 relays. So they've added 2 more relays, the pole vault for the girls now. And my granddaughter, who's in 8th grade in Kentucky, she can do the triple jump. Michigan doesn't have the triple jump. Have you ever heard of the triple jump?
Mm-mm.
It's like the long jump, but you do a hop, skip, and then a jump. It's really interesting. But some states still don't have that for their boys or their girls. And Michigan doesn't, but Kentucky does. If you went to a Michigan State University track meet, they would have it. Yeah, so it's changed a lot. We've had a lot of events in the last 50 years, which is good. Ever tried the hurdles, Kendall? No?
No.
That's a challenging one too. But there's lots of events in track. So no matter who comes out for track, there's something they can do. Just like basketball. What do your big, tall girls end up playing?
Usually like the posts or the like.
Yeah, they're going to be the post or the center. And usually if you're shorter, you got to be a good what?
Guard.
Good guard, good ball handler, right? Yeah. So have you watched Caitlin Clark play?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's 6 foot and she plays point guard. So as you move up into the college and into the professional level, the taller you are and the better your ball handling, the better you're going to be a point guard because they like putting those tall girls in there. But you don't have to be tall to be a good basketball player. I think a lot of people mistaken that. If you just work hard on your ball handling skill, you can be a great guard. So tonight you're going to a basketball game
Yep.
to cheer on the Queen Bees?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And they're going to play Perry, huh? The
Yep.
Ramblers. I coached against them many years ago. Are you going to wear your t-shirts to the game?
Nora's practice, we forgot.
Oh,
They're not on the same team. There's a lot of girls in
okay.
the class that are playing, which is good. It's a good
There's
problem to have.
15 girls playing basketball in our grade.
15. Now, do you play on a Bath community team or where do you guys play 5th and 6th grade basketball?
It's Red Cedar, so it's like we have like jerseys and then we like play against other teams, but we're not playing like school ball.
Okay. But you're playing kids from other schools.
Yes,
other
yes,
than
yeah.
Bath. Yeah. So it's a basketball program within the area.
Yeah, it's quite large now. I mean, we've gone
Okay.
to Montrose, we've gone to, yeah, it's a good exposure. They see a lot of new people, and sometimes you
Okay.
see the kids that you're going to be playing in a few years. We did that
Yeah.
when he played. He was seeing the kids we see now, like they're playing varsity. So it's kind of fun to watch them all grow up together.
Hang in there, girls. So
We
you're both in 5th grade, right? So do they have a 6th grade Bath middle school team yet, or do you have to wait till you're in 7th grade?
7th grade is when you can start school ball, but you also can do Red Cedar, and that's the same thing in
Okay.
grade 2.
In Kentucky, listen to this. I think Kentucky doesn't have as many people that live in it like Michigan, and they have a lot of really, really small schools. So if you're in 7th grade and you're a really good basketball player, you can play varsity at the high school level. Isn't that interesting? For example, my son-in-law ran varsity cross country for 6 years because he started in 7th grade, and their 6th graders can play on the 8th grade team. So they just open it up more, but there's just not as many people living in Kentucky for them to. I understand why Michigan has theirs.
Well, thank you for your time, and we'll share what we find and we put together. And thanks for staying after school.
Yeah, yeah. I hope Nora makes it up and down the court tonight.
You have to take a nap. Yeah, they fight for. I mean, it's not girls versus boys, but now the younger kids get the worst gym times.
Uh,
Now they just kind of keep going after.
I have one more question for you girls.
Mm-hmm.
This is a kind of a female version. Does anybody give you a hard time as a girl playing basketball? I mean, has anybody said you play like a boy? Like Nora, if you're really good, or even Kendall. Has anybody ever said that to you?
I think I've heard people say in softball, like it's bad to, you sort of like a girl. Well, yeah, I am a girl. I should be a girl, and that's not a bad thing.
No, it's not a bad thing. As my girls were coming through, as we started programs, if you had somebody that was really good, they would say something like, well, you play like a boy. And then my comment was, no, they play like a really good basketball player. You can be a boy or a girl and be a really good basketball player. Just because you're a good girls basketball player doesn't mean you play like a boy. So that has kind of disappeared. And that's a good thing. I think you want to be known as a really good girls basketball player. Have you ever played with the boys?
I think you guys would whoop on the boys in your grade.
Oh yeah.
Like at recess, do you guys have a basketball hoop that people go out and shoot at on recess or lunchtime, lunch break?
No.
Next year we will.
Yeah, because we can't at second because we have 2 recesses
Ah,
in Bath now. So first recess is so we have 2 playgrounds.
okay.
So
But no hoop out there, right?
no, first recess you can play like kickball, you can play like football, and you can like dribble a basketball, but at second recess you have like a soccer field and a baseball field, and then once you're in middle school you have like a bunch of area.
All right. Well, keep practicing all the time. Keep that basketball right near you.
All right. Have a good day and thank you.
All right, you too. Thanks. It's been fun, Christine.
All right. We'll talk soon. Bye-bye. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.